The next speaker is a stalwart in homeopathy. She has with her 30 years of clinical homeopathic practice. Academics has always been her focus. Has been a resource person for mother and child project under Ayush. She has done an extensive research work, be it extramural research project for scope of homeopathy in learning difficulties or for slow learners in rural Bangalore, to name few. She has numerous publications to her credit. We have the pleasure of her being associated with NGH right from its inception. Presenting to you Dr. Latha Devarajan. Latha ma'am, NGH invites you to take us through your journey of treating fevers in COVID times. Over to you.
So I'm sorry, I just have to quickly run through the introduction. Thank you so much, NGH, and thank you, sir, for a wonderful platform. I'm going to be focusing more on the viral fevers and the stages of COVID and the management through homeopathy. Non-COVID fevers, a few cases, and then go ahead to understand how our susceptibility expresses in different stages of COVID and how we have managed them. What will be the remedy and the posology? So let me start with the case right away. Right in the midst of a pandemic, we have a child with very high fever who is, just coming and lying down on the bed and telling, don't come near me, don't come near me. For us, the panic is this COVID or not COVID? The pediatrician was very clear. High fever, slight throat pain. Let's wait for 2 days before testing. So with a great heart in my mouth, I started the case treatment. Let me see what comes up. There's dullness, there is irritability, does not want to be spoken to. She has chills, continuous fever, and no thirst. So there were a range of remedies. What I want you to pay attention to is how we started building the fever case taking. There were symptoms before fever and there are symptoms during fever. And here, the dullness and that irritability, I don't want to anybody coming near me, clinched us towards the gelsemia. Next case. The next case was very interesting, where everybody in COVID fever had a very standard pattern of presentation. This man had an unusual presentation of back pain, weakness in the lower extremities with severe chills and continuous fever. COVID was negative. We again had 2 days to bring down this fever and see whether we can go for any further testings, what Asrani sir has taught to us about. Again, what did we pay attention to in this case taking? Symptoms before fever and during fever. Remedy, strongly listed Kalika. Incidentally, the patient's constitution also was Kalika. What we wanted to introduce to our audiences and to our team was how we use the Allen's methodology of fevers to understand what are the mental symptoms, the type of fever, the prodrome, the chills, the stages of heat and what symptoms comes up in that, what is the kind of sweat and what happens post pyrexia stage. So this book was a great reference point for us when we started exploding in cases of fever. And I would like you to go back and, refer this book and see how you could use it too. Now, very interesting. A patient comes with very high fever, severe frontal headache. Sir has said frontal headache with fever. There are some diagnoses we need to keep in mind. However, his oxygen saturation was only 82. This on day 2 of the fever. What do we do then? He calls us on second. I said, now immediately go to your doctor and check because you are saying that your oxygen is 82. You need to check what happened. The family physician he's in Andhra, he's in Hyderabad. The family physician says, let's collect the COVID test comes negative. Let's do the CBC ESR. Everything seems normal on the 2nd September. Slightly, what caught our attention was platelets 1.4. Then going back to what we understand, can we repeat a COVID test? Should we pay attention to the oxygen? Should we be alarmed by it? The physician wanted to wait for a day. In that day, what we did was, again, we took the totality before heat, during heat, and these were the symptoms that guided us. We started our treatment. As you know, the chills and the severe headache with the soreness and the kind of thirst and nausea, a few remedies were coming up, Naxomica, Eupatorium and Natrimur. We went ahead with Eupatorium with the kind of, the soreness, he said, as if somebody's hitting me on the head, and the chills and the thirst. Patient started recovering from the headache. Again, the physician repeated the blood test to see the platelets. What happened on day 3? Platelet went down to 80. We advised him, you get hospitalized and put on IV trips. We still need to monitor the oxygen, why it is dropping. It is still at 82. It's not fluctuating. It's steady at 82. The fever touched normal. Eupatorium was made 1M as the headache was only 25% better. 3 COVID tests were done at the hospital because of the doubt of oxygen. Finally, we got oxygen was due to the chronic snoring. And he was treated with that with the machine, and then he recovered with that. The oxygen came back to normal. Day 4, the platelets came down to 55, but there were no symptoms. He was discharged on day 5. We put him on the constitution, and day 7, the platelets went up to 3.11. So what we understood was that most of our cases of dengue do respond to the indicated remedy, but they need very careful monitoring, as what Sir has put. Usually follow with the constitution for the susceptibility to recover. So it's important to know that COVID fevers are not very high and they're more intermittent, like Sir said. Fever becomes a persisting guide for us. And it, in a COVID case, the virus changes its form from a simple acute to a deeper autoimmune types. There are rubrics in our repertory, which I would like you to go back and refer and see the 3 markers and the 2 markers that are listed. And you will have the range of remedies that we will now start using when I begin my presentation on COVID. So this were the guides for us. We understood that we need to pay attention to the type of fever, as Sir said, and I need to pay also attention now that when I'm entering into the COVID zone, what are the cautions I need to keep. After that interesting case where we got confused with the oxygen, let me go back to one classical cases. And I would like to thank Ajit Sir for the slides that he gave me on fevers and the type of fever references. Now we're dealing with the first type of COVID cases. The first type are usually the very low detected. Can you see the curve? They are usually in the range of 25 to 30 titers. The only problem we face is if the fever does not come down on the 3rd and the 4th day, it is possible that it is going to change its form and it's going to become more moderate titers. Hence, let's start how homeopathy can help in this type 1 types, where the titers are somewhere between the ranges of 24 to 30. Case 1, I'll quickly go through because what I really want to bring about is which remedy is working in the COVID times, differentiate the other remedies. So this patient is having fever since 3 days. It is low grade and continuous. It comes down with paracetamol for 8 hours. Again, it starts rising. Classical case, thirst, increase, weakness, chilliness. What remedy all of us would think of? Arsenic. It was quite popularly used at that time, and it was one of the remedies, as you can see, that covered the characters and the concomitants very clearly. He was also kept on isolation. Remember that he works in the COVID lab, and despite that, he has developed it due to the exposures of high titers. And he was admitted only because those days, almost all cases got admitted. And he was only kept on zinc, vitamin, and nothing major. And arsenical brought down the fever to normal. Within 7 days of the onset, the COVID titer comes negative. So we know that we have safely tided over this case. Similarly, let's take another case. This case, what was classical here? It was tiredness, head pain, and dullness. This kind of presentation with a moderate, 24 is around the moderate range of COVID titer with a steady oxygen, that is telling you that there is nothing alarming still. Let us try an indicated remedy based on LSMC. Now you might ask, Why didn't we take the chronic case now? Let me tell you, at that point in time, we were having almost 30 to 40 cases in a day. Our approach was whoever is responding to the indicated remedy, let's wait and watch for 2 to 3 days and then go ahead and defining the case if they get into any further complications. Fortunately for us, when we kept the COVID titer as one of our criteria along with the oxygen, we found that they recover in 3 to 4 days time and the COVID titer comes to negative and we are safe with this case. Next case, this patient has only throat pain, irritable, and all the time telling us, now don't keep me here. I want to go back to work. I want to go back to work. All of us know we've been hearing a lot of bryonia cases. We know that this is how bryonia talks during the fever. He just wants to go back to his work because this is not where he wants to be. Along with this, a continuous dry cough, we gave him bryonia 200. Again, remember, the COVID titer was mildly positive. Along with the supplements, kept on observation, he recovered and came negative on the 7th day. Now the fourth case. In the fourth case, what do you find here? There is starting with a throat pain. Remember, one had a dry cough, ones are so different. This patient is tired, thirsty, has a sore throat, and there's a tongue coating. Based on this totality characteristics, we chose Merxol and the fever subsides in 24 hours. Even though this titer was a little, be careful, 22, fever is almost 101, coming down only for 4 hours with paracetamol. We needed to be extra cautious in this case to monitor on a daily basis. So our team was ensuring that we monitor their vitals, we monitor their oxygen and the symptom progress, especially about the fever. And we used to ensure that the COVID titer gets repeated every 4 to 5 days to know whether the viral load is going up or coming back to normal. So finally, he came to negative. What did this experience teach us about these 4 acutes that were commonly used at that time? Most of these 4 acutes have a slow or a sudden onset. They cause inflammation, like how COVID causes. It can also, like in arsenic, causes syncope and collapse with destructive. It was extensively used by our master. He's here behind me, blessing us, with destructive pathology in that influenza pandemic in 18th century. We used it with great results along with Gelsemium. That's what was written in our books. Same you find the similar pandemic coming now and a similar set of remedies coming up. What happens with bryonia? It also has high inflammatory changes and it also results in unyielding tissues before fevers end in unyielding tissues. Before pneumonia sets in, the patient has a dry, continuous cough. Gelsemium is cytotoxic and it's also causing inflammation. But remember, it also has a neurotoxic sensorium alteration that produces dullness. All of us know, and the Merxol is inflammatory and it progresses quite rapidly to systemic septicemias. And it starts with the throat and then progresses forward. So these were the remedies that we used. And all of us know the concomitants that are coming up so characteristically in these cases. And just remember, they are still in the mild to moderate zones, all of them recovering within 7 days. So we know we are safe with these susceptibilities. So what we understood in type 1 COVIDs, where the characteristics are very high, pace is not moderate, and patients' vital signs, especially the oxygen, are stable, we can safely use acute or any indicated remedy based on the pace, the pathology, and the characteristics. And here, the patients usually stabilize in few days. We will repeat the consolidation. Dr. Sushma will do it with us. I would like to pay attention to our master where he speaks in aphorism 72. Majority of the cases, you find that, they have a deranged vital force and they have a tendency to follow a quick course, but also come back to normalcy. And that is what we found in majority of good susceptibility COVID cases. Now let's move to the next case. next type where the COVID has progressed from an acute to a systemic, inflammatory, or an autoimmune type. Now just see this case. Patient has fever from 16th September. He had a cocktail party on 16th in the midst of a pandemic. You can just keep that in mind because you will get an idea of what his constitution is. On 23rd September, he comes to us on 23rd because the fever is not coming down. But he thinks he spoke to his doctor and he has taken antibiotics thinking it's a throat infection. Finally, he got tested when his wife came positive because his wife's fever was higher and she was having weakness and other symptoms, and the doctor decided to test her. What is important here? This COVID titer count is 23. What about what happens on 2nd when this is on 23rd, okay? And now he's coming to us on 2nd. That's almost 5-6 days after the fever has come and the CT score has come. Now on 2nd October, the fever has not subsided. He is asymptomatic. There is no symptoms. The patient is cheerful, talking to you, telling you all the history. There is no thirst, no appetite changes, what you found in the first case. Now see what has happened to the COVID titer. It has gone from 23 to 18. Remember, this means lower the readings, higher the morbidity, and higher the infection in your body. So he was cool till then. Then I got panic on 2nd and said, you need to do a blood work, you need to do a CT scan, and you need to maintain your oxygen even though. So he said, okay, whatever you say, we will do. So I was just wondering how come he didn't think of consulting anyone. Anyways, he decided that he's going to be under our care. Now, what allows you to keep this case and how are you going to treat this case? Any responses in the chat? Anybody would like to suggest what you would like to do now? Okay, I'm not able to see your chat box. It will be nice if you all can respond so we can have a little bit of an interaction. So we found that when there are no symptoms available, a pathology which is progressing, we decided to take his chronic case and come up with his constitutional remedy or a chronic deep acting remedy. Now, can you believe in a COVID case, what does this patient share with you? And keep in mind the left side, what is happening to the titers? A CRP which is going up to 68, an inflammatory markers 38, and a D-dimer which is 600. And I've written the normal values for you all to refer. In this, you know that it is, but what allowed us to keep this case was the faith of an allopathic doctor who said, let us wait. The CT score is not very high. The scan is showing only 5 points. That is the marker they use. And his oxygen saturation is normal. His sugar is under control. Nothing wrong. Try your medicines for a week. We will wait. With his confidence, we took his case. In this COVID time, what is this man talking to us? In the COVID fever, which is asymptomatic, the patient shares his travel to us. He says about his wonderful empire that he creates. He was the first to develop the internet skills all over India. A wonderful venture, became very successful. However, he invested in switchboards, economy opened, that went down very badly. Hence, he had to sell off his extremely pet business of internet schools to somebody to cover the losses. It was a very big loss. This was the time that he developed hypertension. Next, he went into another venture with his friend, a very close friend, and he thought that the friend should understand him. This friend used to pay him a salary, but treat him as a business partner. One day, he said he wants to build a house and he expected the friend to pay him whatever be the amount of quite an expensive house. But the friend declined to take the money from the corpus of the office or from his own personal funds and shared that we are anyway paying you. This is all that we can do. This was extremely intolerant. He just couldn't believe that his friend, it hurt him so deeply that my friend has cheated on me and deceived me. And he lost his second business and job. This is when diabetes started. He's intolerant of contradiction. Any inputs on this? What are your remedies that are coming up? Are people sharing, ma'am? Are people sharing? Sushma, can you help me? What are the sharings?
Yes, Dr. Rita has written itself, and Dr. Rekha is saying Nux vomica infection raising typically of COVID. Dr. Shailaja has to say that no sword with constitutional remedy. Someone has written Lyco, Nux vomica, Causticum, Staphysagra, Lyco again. So these are the responses
Okay,
for your query.
wonderful, wonderful. Now let me tell you, when we repertorize this case, the remedies that are coming up are Nux vomica, sulfur, lycopodium, natrimur, and calcarea. Okay, now let's go into how we understand this patient. An extremely calm father, irritable mother makes, and what do we have in this patient? An irritable and egoistic patient, aggravated from contradiction. What is he trying to tell you? I lost in business due to a friend. I lost this business. I am hurt. My ego is break. I am very sensitive to these things. Compare it with a Bryonia who will try to go back to work and start working again and start building his corpus again. Or a Calcarea flow, which is extremely conservative about where he puts his money and tries to keep all his money, fear of poverty. Or a sulfur who would have bragged and bragged without being so sensitive and continued about his work as if nothing has happened. So this patient was given Nux vomica. What Hahnemann says in aphorism about 213, it's very important. When we do not have characteristics at the LSMC, if a COVID disease, but an asymptomatic case, it's very important that we select a remedy that covers the disposition. Now see this, how it's working out. We started him on Nux vomica 30. I'm sure you're going to ask me why 30. Just remember, we are treating an asymptomatic case, progressively advancing pathology. Look at the blood markers. And we have to build the susceptibility gradually. After about a week, when we found the levels coming back to, when the blood levels subsided with Nux vomica 30 TDS, now we introduce Nux vomica 200 HS. And as you can see, by 26th, all his reports have come to negative, and within this span, that was on 26th, but we have been able to recover him on the 7th. The COVID titer took some time to come down. As you see, it progressively comes down and comes to negative, indicating to you how much morbidity this susceptibility is having and how far you need to go with your treatment and how do you need to sustain your doses until complete recovery. And we would prefer we use moderate. I will come back to the slide to explain on potency selection in such cases. Now let's take another case. And these are my team members. The previous case also I've mentioned. I'll show you them in the end again. This was an old man of 80 years. He said, I am not going to go to the hospital. He's staying alone with his wife. He's managed by a cousin who's a surgeon in Bombay. And he says, whatever happens, I'll be here. You treat me, I'm not taking allopathy, I'm not going to the hospital. So then when they put so much of pressure, it's like that time it was a pressure. Now we kind of figured out how to handle these cases. On 11th September, the oxygen is steady, not dropping. There is continuous fever which is going on. The CT titer is 19, which means it is severe. And the tests indicate to you there is inflammatory 38, CRP is touching 68, and a D-dimer which is 550. Would you like to approach this case? Sushma, can you just see in the chat box, how do they want to approach and are they okay with keeping him in the house?
Sure, ma'am. Just a sec. I think people have replied to the earlier query. Any replies, people, please do put it in the chat and I will reach it to Dr. Lata.
Yeah, we will reply to all your queries at the end of the session. I know it's going to raise a lot of doubts. Don't worry, we will go with it one by one. Now just reply to this. Do you want to keep him with you at home?
Yes, someone has written that since it is 95, so it is okay. Uh,
Yes.
what is CT value? Is it reliable? And people are saying yes, so they are kind of in agreement of what you're mentioning. So just an observation is what someone has written, that they will observe, they'll keep it at home.
And we will treat, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's keep the markers, let's keep his vital signs, and let's start the treatment. Take his case. Again, what is he talking to you? Very sweet, very mild person, very friendly with the PP. He's supportive of his parents and his wife, does not go against the wife's opinion. He has an anxiety about health and disease, and he has great fear of going to the hospital. He was in a government job, steady at one place, did not opt for promotions. He likes watching TV serials, has great faith that we will look at his physicals, craving for sweets, stocky chili, and prostrate was removed with grade 1 carcinoma 4 years back. Now he's totally asymptomatic and cured. Any other remedies are coming to your mind? I went with calcarea carb. One thing was very characteristic in this patient was during this fever, he was having constipation. Usually he tends to develop constipation when he eats outside food or there are errors in his diet. Now again, he's having the same symptom of constipation, and this is what he's sharing with you, the mental state. I went ahead with calcarea carb, and let's see the response. On 15th, 16th, he had passed stool, calcarea carb 30. We also got his CT score improved to 24 on 19th. On 22, we repeated all the blood tests and they all have come to normal, and patient came negative on the 24th. So we started with calcarea carb 30 and then went on to 200 when we found the results were favorable in terms of, again, you have an asymptomatic case, pathology progressing, we stabilize the susceptibility and then go to 200. So why do we do that? What Hahnemann talks to us in aphorism 94 and 95, how a patient responds in disease and health is very important for us so that we can get recovery. Now listen to the daughter of this patient who really gave us 7 sleepless nights because none of us want our patients to collapse and, be in an emergency, and that to a couple who have no other support structures and who are living all by themselves. It wasn't very easy at that time because the BBMP was very strict in Bangalore at least, and they can make it very difficult for us.
My father was under treatment of Dr. Latha and Dr. Sadhvi. He has recovered with
Yeah, ma'am, it's
only
not too
homeo
audible, so if you
medicine.
can check with the
His
volume.
CRP came down from 68 to 4.5, IL 38 to 6, and a D-dimer from 600 to 247 in 10 days.
The markers came down actually in 7 days, as was seen in the reports, and the negativity of the COVID titer came down in 10 days. This was the daughter who thanked us profusely for managing her parents. She was very far away from him and this two couple. The wife tested negative, but we kept her on the constitution for this entire period. Now we go to another type of COVID, which is going to create not such an easy response for us as we have had so far. He comes on 3rd September, which is a Saturday, continuous fever over 5 days, paracetamol as advised by his allopathic doctor, no other treatment taken. There was no symptoms except a fever and his oxygen was stable. So we defined the case on 3rd. And what happens It was a Saturday evening. I was going to Dunzo the medicine on Sunday morning. We had finalized the totality remedy and all. Sunday early morning at 5 o'clock, his oxygen has fallen to 80. Luckily for us, this patient has been monitoring with an alarm clock his oxygen levels as was told to him, because I was really scared, because by then we had been told that any fever which is lasting more than 5 days is, and a COVID titer score, which is, almost quite severe when it's 23, we know that there is going to be an impending problem. So he took our advice and monitored his oxygen every 4 hours. At 5 o'clock, it had suddenly fallen to 80 and he was rushed to the hospital before we could send him the medicines. And this was his totality. There was an anxiety. What he kept telling us: I have worked hard in my business. I have climbed the ladder. I don't like working under anybody because I don't like being dominated by anybody. I need to be the boss. I am hardworking. My sleep gets disturbed with anxiety. And he spoke to us about his son, how attached he is to his son, and he really wants his son to do well. But the son is a little creative with a lateral thinking, so they're trying to mold him into something. So this was what he shared with us when he was giving us the case and the remedies that were coming up. You all can share any ideas I gave him. Yes. Sushma, anybody would like to? And what do they want to treat him now? Do they want to treat him or just let him be in the hospital?
Someone has written Lyco. I think many are writing Lyco.
Great. Do they want to treat him or just leave him at the hospital?
Kalika asked that. No one has replied yet. But someone has said...
Like to take up this case in the hospital? The thing is, what happens now is, even if we don't want, the patients want us to give medicines in the hospital. And this entire, the last 3 patients that I shared were from very referred sources, and it had gone around that homeopathy definitely helps and let us definitely try it even if we are in the hospital. So this patient did not give us a choice. He wanted our medicines to reach him next day morning at 9 o'clock in the hospital. It's not easy, but the Bangalore hospitals were pretty favorable to using our medicines. And then let us see what happens in a journey that was not as straight as what we wanted. The IL was 6, the D-dimer was 201, the RBS was 283. He has not checked his sugar over the last 6 months. He didn't even tell us he had sugar. And he was also a chain smoker, which again, he did not mention to us. All this came to us when he went to the hospital, and the duty doctor gave us these informations because they were the ones telling us the readings. And the fever on 6th, I started him on Lyco 30, and the allopathic protocol was also started. On 6th, the fever goes up to 103. There is a new symptom coming up of weakness. CRP is going up to 50, and you can see that the patient is progressing further. On 7th, the fever comes down for few hours with paracetamol. He is now on external oxygen. There are new symptoms of weakness which was not there. And remember, he's on standard protocols in the hospital. They were a little alarmed because in spite of starting the treatment, he is progressing. So what we did was, on 8th, with this weakness and a rapidly progressing pathology, I gave him 1 dose of tuberculinum and went back to Lyco. As you can see, the tuberculum made a remarkable change in the susceptibility, and a lot of things kind of started settling. And I wouldn't say that it was only our medicines. There were other protocols going on. However, you can see a distinct change in the fever with tuberculinum, distinct change in the weakness. Lycopodium continued up to the tests came to normal. Then we moved him to Lycopodium 200. He was discharged on 12th, almost after a week. So that was a fairly good recovery according to the allopaths, because they didn't expect him to come out of the oxygen as quickly. And his blood tests also stabilized, and they sent him home. But we still had another 1 month to stabilize his Sugar, because while on steroids, the sugar was not coming down. Finally, when they stopped the steroids on the 12th or the 13th day, his sugar stabilized. We continued with Lycopodium 200 until the patient touched the normalcy, both in terms of his CT scan scores, the CRP, as well as the blood sugar. That took us another 1 month of treatment, right? Okay. So this was a case. What did we find? Every case in COVID pandemic was extremely individualistic and challenging for us. We needed freedom from prejudices, sound senses, and constantly paying attention in fidelity in tracing the picture of the disease. This is what our master taught us in aphorism 83. And every COVID case requires us to keep this alive for us at every moment. So we had a third type where rapidly advancing pathology here recovered with tuberculosis. Now this is the sharing by one of the COVID managers, a business head who was creating and manufacturing and testing for COVID, and his entire lab used to get infected one after the other, including the families. I want you to quickly hear him.
Dr. Lata and her team have successfully treated over 500 of my colleagues and friends and acquaintances over the last few months for COVID-19. Her team and her personal dedication to ensuring that all of these COVID sufferers had a lot of confidence that they could recover by following their structured protocols, their medication, and the counseling that was given to them has ensured that all of them have returned to good health and are back to their daily lives. Except for one person who had to get hospitalized but also subsequently recovered. All of the other patients were treated at home. It is a tremendous service to society that she and her team has done over the last few months, and I think we are all very thankful to her for this purpose.
No, ma'am, it's not audible.
Saying that our team has successfully treated over 500 patients with structured protocols and personal dedications. Counseling, nutrition was also paid attention to, and we followed up all his cases on a daily basis. And almost all the 500 recovered without any complications, except for one patient, that Lyco with tuberculinum, who went to the hospital, but who came back within a week back to normal. He thanks us for all the work that we have done for the last few months. Now, quickly, I'll run through two cases. One who is having rapidly inflammation setting in with a septicemia. Look at his scores. Neutrophils 87 and lymphocytes 7.4. High neutrophil, low lymphocytes, difficulty in breathing. Patients want to try homeopathy because it's not really helping with the protocols that they are following. What did we use for repetization? No symptoms, except only symptoms of inflammation, septicemia, rapidly progressing with weakness, sleepiness, and breathlessness. You see the ranges of remedies that are coming, phosphorus, arsenic, and all. We went with phosphorus because of the increasing debility of the system and the kind of inflammatory markers that were rising in a tubercular pathology and myasm, which was quite active. We went with phosphorus. And in another case where the doctor was completely collapsed, on 23rd day, he comes to us for treatment because they are not able to withdraw the oxygen. And he is completely weak and exhausted, but his blood work is normal and the other parameters are normal. While going through the case, there's weakness, rapid sinking of the vitality with inflammation, and a mood that went from anxiety 3 marks to a quietness to hopefulness. We gave him camphor. And what allows us to choose a potency in susceptibility? The kind of pathology, the structural changes, the reversibility, the pace, the vitality, and You find if there are more characteristics, higher, moderate to higher, lower characteristics, we went with 30. Now video 3, Anjali, quickly. This is the doctor who recovered. He was an allopathic doctor who recovered with camphor.
Of the team MLD MHI for helping me to recover from my breathlessness and to withdraw my oxygen support during my post-COVID period. Within a month, I became all right, and now I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Is that clear, Sushma?
Hi, I'm
Is that okay, Sushma?
Yes, yes.
This was what we used, and Sushma will quickly run through it. There was a format that was created for case receiving, circulated on PDF files with the stages of COVID and what to monitor. Because in a day, we had 30 to 40 cases, and we had to be very quick in our strategies. We also had a team bonding that ensured that all of us remain mentally sane with exercises, hobbies, and discipline, and celebrate life with a lot of gratitude and service. We also paid attention to diet. We had in our team a nutritionist, a yoga therapist, and a counselor who would aid us in guiding. This was our team and our mentor, Vipin sir. We would take the case, come to a remedy, seek sir's opinion, and within half an hour, remedies were dispensed and reached patients because the speed was important, knowing that we have less time. Our CHS team worked equally hard to ensure they cover 50 villages, and they ensured that almost all the patients there, surprisingly, not even one case has come COVID positive there, thanks to their constitutional remedies and the immune boosters that they have used. Thank you. And thank you, Team NGH. Thank you, Vishpala ma'am, for your support and believing in our team, and Asrani sir for your constant excellence. Ajit sir for your first insights on COVID, Praveen sir and Bhatt sir for your support, to all my mentors at ICR, Bipin sir in particular, and SKP sir who gave us the guidelines, and the wonderful teamwork of MLD MHI Bangalore. I would like to hand over to Sushma for the conclusion. Dr. Subhashini from Marthandam has made this very beautiful slide consolidating what we have done. And Sushma is going to share her inputs and experience.
By now, we all would have understood that each and every single case of COVID 19 is unique and individualistic in nature. On integrating the results, the COVID is divided into 4 types: type 1, 2, 3, and 4. Looking into detail, type 1 is the acute condition where the COVID episode have clear-cut characteristic symptoms at the level of mind as well as the physical sphere. Here, the phase is not morbid, the COVID titer is mild, and the vital signs of the patient is stable. The medicine required is often acute or indicated medicine, which is prescribed based on the totality, that is, on the base, pathology, and evolution, along with the characteristic symptoms, and especially the concomitants either in the mind or in the body. The susceptibility of the patient can be stabilized with moderate potency in few days, and the test will turn negative within a span of week. And for the preventing further progress, we follow up the case with a constitutional level. Type 2. The COVID disease does not throw up much of a clear-cut totality because the susceptibility is being overwhelmed by the disease as it progresses to a deeper affections of tissues such as lung and produces systemic inflammatory changes. Here, the COVID titer is rapidly increased with poor symptom expression. After the case is being taken, the remedy which covers the predisposition to disposition to expression will bring about healing. The remedy is given in moderate potency and slowly stepping up will help with infrequent doses once we reach the stability. Here, the prescription is based on the constitutional level. Type 3. Here, the COVID patients presents with rapidly advancing pathology. Fever is not coming down. The CT scan score is rising. The blood work are rising. Weakness is present. And here, the indicated remedy is not helping. Hence, the miasmatic remedies, that is most often due to pace and pathology inflammation, tuberculinum 1M, is given as an intercurrent prescription to remove the block and moving towards a rapid, gentle, and permanent restoration of health. Here, type 4, where the allopaths give away their hands on the hope of recovery of the patient, and the susceptibility may show poor expression or one sided disease expression during pathological prescription or phase prescription to tide over the crisis. Here, the medicine such as camphor or phosphorus is given.
That was summarizing Lata ma'am's talk. Thank you so much, Lata ma'am. That was awesome. Before we go on to the question and answer session, we have something very exciting. I'll call upon Vishpala ma'am and Rama ma'am to please tell us what it is all about.
So NJH likes to continuously offer you new things, and every time we tell you something new. This time we want to release the NJH Bites, which is a little newsletter which will come out every alternate Saturdays. The second and fourth, we have normally the webinars. So the first and third will be the NJH Bites. And it will take you also to the NJH website, so you can enjoy both. So here it is. You have to just type in NJH Bytes, it'll take you there. We don't want to spend really any time on it. Rama, you want to say something?
No, just that this is a fantastic offering for everybody. Just click on to NJH Online and there will be short cases, a short case, and most interesting will be a crossword, interactive crossword. Here is artificial intelligence coming into play with NJH, keeping with the times. Enjoy yourselves, everybody. Every alternate Saturday, NJH Bytes. That's the crossword, which you can do interactive right there. Thank you.
What are you going to do, Rama? Next time we are going to have NJH webinar, next webinar on the 7th itself, because we can't have it on the 14th being Diwali. So are you going to have both the bites and this on the same day?
Yes.
Thank
Just
you.
for this month.
Thank you, Sushma.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Sushma.
And like almost 200 participants are still there. I'm sure they're going to enjoy it, and we have really made it with a lot of love, with a lot of effort. So please do go and play the crossword with which is also a hallmark of NJH now, because you would have never seen that. You have seen that in our journal, but to play it, it is going to be fun. I feel that when my daughter is going to play online session, I'm going to play this crossword. Now, can we take up the question and answer session? Most of the questions sir has already replied. We have few questions for Lata ma'am as well. So Lata ma'am, if you're there, then we can quickly take this question and answer session, and then we can wrap up the session.
Awesome session, you must say. It was really awesome, Lata. The kind of experience you have shared is heartwarming, and we all will follow your footsteps.
Yes, ma'am. I was wanting to wrap up and we could not say much, but it was outstanding. You usually have one remedy, you have two remedy. You managed to show so many of the remedies, so clear cut. And I think you should take a session on record keeping as well. That how do you do that? I think you have treated patients to
our team has treated.
Yeah, so that is really wonderful. So I think there are a few questions for sir as well. So I'll just take up for you. In between, actually, there was a lot of query that why you gave this, but I think then later on when you moved on the other slides, it was very clear. And I have written the questions for you. Just give me a second.
Sushma, can I share the next webinar
Yes,
thing
sure.
till then?
Yeah, sure.
While we are talking about the question answers, I'll just share the next webinar creative.
So like Vishpala ma'am said that, usually our scintillating Saturday webinars are on 2nd and 4th. Even this time we moved it to 5th because of Dasera. And next month we are moving it a little, preponing it a week ahead. So please join us and register for 7th November. And it's a very interesting topic as well. A DMAT we are going to cover, and we have with us two very well-known stalwarts, Dr. Akshay Banker and Dr. Yogesh Niturkar.
Akshay will talk from Canada. So
yeah, he will be talking from Canada on vitiligo and its homeopathic treatment. And Dr. Yogesh will be taking us through various skin conditions in practice. Lata ma'am, there is one query for you from Dr. Jayesh. He asked that if Lyco was the right remedy, then why weakness increased and it needed tuberculinum?
By the time we introduced Lyco, Sunday itself, the patient has got admitted in the hospital. So if the patient had probably come to us 3-4 days a little prior to that, we would have been able to prevent the progress to a tuberculinum. And also remember, he did not talk to us about his comorbidities of diabetes. He did not talk to us about his smoking. And I think those were the comorbidities on a very miasmatic level, that is his dominant miasm being tubercular. The pace also followed the same thing of the disease. And not all cases come like this. So it's we cautiously use tuberculinum only when we find that the indicated remedy, and remember within 24 hours of lycopodium, he had deteriorated. And that was what the allopathic doctor mentioned was due to the comorbidities of his sugar not being under control.
Dr. Lata, Dr. Asrani here. Did he actively tell a lie or those questions were not asked?
Asked him, is there anything else that you have? But he was, we took the case somewhere around 9:30 in the night, sir. And I think he was tired, I'm not sure, but he was, we had to, kind of wind up the case by 10:15, 10:20. And I don't think he said a lie, but I think it just missed his mind.
So I would say
and
that...
that was something that he said, my sugar is under control, because for us comorbidities are important because we wanted to know if he has comorbidities. But
I would
he
just
said, no,
request
it's
that
under
you have
control.
to ask very leading questions. Do you have hypertension? Do you have diabetes? Do you smoke? Because when we ask anything else, they do not know what we are expecting.
No, sir. These three questions, definitely diabetes and hypertension, we definitely ask, sir.
So then when you told him...
He said that my sugar and all is under control. I last checked 6 months back. It's all under control.
So he didn't tell you he's a diabetic?
He said, I have not taken any medicines for it. It's under control.
Did that trait of his help you pick up the remedy?
Maybe, yes.
Okay. Please go ahead.
A question for you. If COVID treated patient is discharged with good O2 saturation and no symptoms, but D-dimer is still above 1000, how to get the D-dimer to normal?
Allopathic doctors are saying that let us wait. If all the other parameters are okay, we have kept them on constitution. Asrani sir will also like to share.
See, every viral disease is self-limiting. The body heals. So if a patient is at a risk of getting microthrombi, they may have given in the hospital injection Clexane, which is a thrombolytic. Otherwise, it is just monitoring. You monitor every 8 to 10 days and see D-dimer coming down. It's like in dengue. No active treatment. Platelets will rise. When they will rise? Till they rise, we have to observe the patient that no complication occurs.
So there's one question, ma'am. Maybe you can answer this. Can there be any standard protocols for COVID treatment apart from arriving at a totality?
No, because every case in a family of 12, all of them behave differently. How are we going to standardize treatments? In a case, even if it is a 52-year-old who's not having comorbidities, He's deteriorating faster than his father, who's 70 years. How can we standardize treatments? We have to make it individualistic, because that is what is going to take care of your susceptibility, the miasm, and get his constitution back to normal.
There's one query which has been asked for the potency, like why did you use 30?
Already explained it, right? I mean, when there are no symptoms, advancing pathology, we were being cautious in our approach with moderate potency. And stepping it up only when the blood test came to normal. 30 is not low, 30 is moderate.
Right one, Karina.
I think there are a lot of queries here, and we are already, it's 9. So what we will do is we will save all the queries and we will try to, reply to them.
I will just answer this question on arsenic R, because I don't know.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Yeah.
Personally, I was not very comfortable distributing arsenic R from my clinic, but because a lot of patients have taken the Ayush protocol, including my patients. So I am having a clear-cut data about how that arsenic has worked. I have not really studied it, and I would like to, do some more work on it, because the last with finding remedies, constitutions, dealing, we had no time to think on what happened with arsenic. However, I can say that patients who are on our treatment constitution did not have so much of problems of COVID. Lot of patients were new to us in this last 6 months, and we will definitely do a work on how arsenic has worked and share it with you. There is a query on malaria, what sir has different multiple diseases. I need some time for that, because this was not enough time to focus on malaria or typhoid. Next time we have very good sirs who have treated very good cases, we'll take it up
Sure. So
as one of our teams.
Yeah, maybe we can take up that as a topic, because this was mostly focused on fevers in COVID time. So that is where the focus was. I think we will just sign off with this. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Lata ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Sushma, we were asking whether we should give immune boosters. Again, I have just stuck to constitution. I have not gone to immune boosters now at this point in time, because I don't think I seem to be having the time. Me and our team are completely, neck deep with all these cases. So we haven't thought of immune boosters repetitively. However, we will study it and come back to you all.
Sure.
We can say that we will
Sushma,
answer
can we?
questions on Telegram.
Yes.
Because most of you members of Telegram NJH group, then we can answer some of the questions there.
Right. So I have made a note of all the queries. I have kept it. And also for the webinar, we are now on YouTube as well. So all our past webinars are there. So anyone who has missed can go back and see those webinars. And even if you have attended, you can go back and learn again from there. The name of the channel is National Journal of Homeopathy. My team has already put all our social media handles in the chat. And see you there then. And thank you so much. It was very, very informative session. Thank you, Lata ma'am. Thank you, everyone. And see you. Bye. Do join us on 7th again.